to eat or to be eaten. Let's have a look what a nice dinner looks like in the microcosm. It's not as easy as big eats small, as you maybe know it from the savannah, but the who eats who in the soil is often a huge pandemonium and utter chaos.
The most reliable food source in soil is bacteria, and they're tiny, even among microorganisms. Compared to their predators, they're often snack-sized. No need to bite off, just swallow. Bacteria often don't move much, making them easy to eat, and many microorganisms specialize in doing just that. A large group of organisms that eat bacteria are the protists, and they graze, fish, or filter them out. Ciliates like this one have specialized hair around their mouths, and they propel swimming bacteria right into the throat. This one is a hypertrick ciliate looking for bacteria to eat.
Because they're often such easy targets, many bacteria have evolved ways to not being eaten. Some are poisonous and some are just a hassle, so that it's not worth the effort. This lobose amoeba here finds a clump of bacteria and just goes ugh, trying really the hardest to get around it and not touching any of them. On the complete opposite, some lazy amoeba form fishing nets to catch the bacteria instead. They get stuck when they swim or float by. It must be really convenient letting the meal come to you instead. This amoeba puts long, thin threads out into the water stream. They're a type of pseudopodia, which we call philopodia.
My favorite, the monothalamid amoeba, fish with a rod. They have super long pseudopodia that they send out into the big void and drag back their prey. They bundle up their prey and send it along their pseudopodia like string post over many millimeters. These are incredible distances in the microworld. They usually are dragged to the main body to be digested. And packages can even move in both directions on the same pseudopodia at the same time.
Fungi are also an important food source in the microcosm. Many fungal eaters are larger animals like colambula that we don't get into our chips, but some protists also munch on hyphae. Like this testite amoeba, for example. It slurps up the fungal hypha like spaghetti. It keeps the tasty parts and then spits out the rest. That would be quite rude at my dinner table, actually.
Or this vampire-like Grossglockneridae ciliate. It pinches the cell wall and sucks out the cytoplasm out of this fungal hyphae like a straw until it's all empty. Cheers! Some amoeba also eat the spores of the fungi. Here we see one that has ingested one and swims around with it in its belly. Eating spores is difficult, and it takes a lot of effort to dissolve their shells to get to the goodies inside.
Both bacteria and fungi in soil break down dead organic matter. Protists predate on both of them, and by this they control the size of their populations. This is a huge influence on the soil carbon cycle. When protists eat decomposers, less organic matter is respired back into the atmosphere as CO2. This helps to keep carbon in the ground. So, quite some protists eat fungi, but don't you think they're just poor victims? They can be just as aggressive.
This nematode-hunting fungi called Arthrobotrys has trapped and killed a nematode. It creates a 3-part trap that looks like a life buoy, except it's not a lifesaver, it's a deadly trap. When the nematode sticks a part inside the trap, it blows up and traps the worm, digesting it over time. Here we see another victim of a fungus. This nematode ingested a spore that then germinated inside it. It grew all along its body and grew a new hyphal network. This reminds me a bit of that series, The Last of Us. Even I think this is a bit gross. Maybe the coolest interactions in the soil microworld is when protists hunt and eat other protists. Our next video will be all about this, and believe me, it gets gnarly. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss this upcoming action thriller.